Yeah, my dad used to always call me lucky, and I mean that he'd say, "Lucky boy, your luck's gonna run out." I'd kind of scoff at it, like, "Yeah, okay, it's impossible." Eventually, my luck did run out. When I was about 11 or 12, Mom would go out of town, and my brother Andrew and I would be at the house by ourselves, and of course he would have his friends come over, and they'd bring all the beer, and of course they'd have pot and cigarettes, and literally just drink ourselves silly. And that literally became something that sowed a seed in my heart to desire drugs and alcohol. When I started high school and I was doing more of the street activity and running around, selling this and making easy money, and that became more of my life. That's where it drove a wedge in between my dad and I, where I didn't come home. My dad asked me to leave home because of that. Those were my consequences. So a couple of my homeboys, people that I was affiliated with, they come and they say, "Hey, we're gonna go over here and kick this fool's door in." I was so blinded by wanting to be accepted and be, in this circle of people, that I completely just threw all logic out the window and said, "Yeah, let's go do it." And these guys come running out the house. This dude's covered in blood. They're covered in blood, and they all jump in the truck, and I leave. I'm their getaway. I'm the reason why this guy got hurt, And even then, I was still only concerned about myself. Almost a year and a half later, I walk into the store to cash a check, and the lady, I guess, sensed that something was off. She's counting the money out, and she stops, and then she gets on the phone, and I see two cops pull up in the parking lot of the gas station. And I waited till that cop walked up right behind me, and he said my name, and he said, "Hey, can you step back over here for a second, real quick?" And he's like, "But I got some bad news though. You got a warrant, for an aggravated robbery out of Potter County." And I went to court the next day and put my name on a piece of paper, agreeing that I would go to prison. I'm telling everybody bye, and I get to my grandma, and she says, "You lift your eyes to the hills." And in my mind, I really wasn't trying to think spiritually at the moment. I was just thinking survival. Like, how am I going to survive? Like, am I going to survive? Like, do I really want to do this? Thoughts of suicide, thoughts of, anger. And, I'm sitting in that cell, and a buddy of mine gave me a Bible and a daily bread devotional. I woke up one morning and I looked down to that devotional, and it was barely sticking out enough, but where I could see the caption underneath the photo said, "I will lift my eyes to the hills," Psalms 121. I thought there was no way that in that moment that I could be seen, I could be heard, or even felt by God. But in that moment, everything melted away, and I literally picked that book up and I looked at it for like a good 10 minutes, and I just cried out, like, "God, what do I do? Like, what are we gonna do?" And he says, "I'm right here." Everything did change in that moment, as far as the new trajectory of where my heart was at, but I still struggled. I go and check out the church, and I was baptized shortly after that. Gave my life to Christ, or rededicated, but I know that in that moment that I believed that Jesus Christ was Lord of my life. I believe that he died on the cross for me. I believe that blood that he shed covered me and justified me. I knew that I had completely ruined my life, and that I wanted to turn away from those things that I used to do and choose a new life. Before I was incarcerated, I was a slave to sin. I was a slave to filth and deceit and lies, and it's a dark place to live. And making a decision to follow Jesus, it doesn't mean that everything's going to be perfectly fine, but it means that he's going to allow you to be okay in every season because of the relationship you have with him. And every season that I went through, he just showed me how to let the world spin out of control and be on fire and be completely content with the season that I was in through His Word. His Word's changing. When you read His Word, and it becomes where it's living and breathing, and it's changing the inside of you and allowing you to apply it so that you have victory in those seasons. You can trust Jesus more, and I couldn't have done it, and I still couldn't do it without Him. And staying in a relationship with Jesus, I'm telling you, there's been nothing that I would want more than to continue in my walk with Christ.